So we've all nicely let this dry overnight, so this should be all nicely cured and ready for decaling, which, as you can see, I've already sort of played around and done a little bit of decaling. But what we want to do when it comes to decaling, if you can understand decaling, then you should be okay with it. There is loads of tutorials on Genesis models, by the way, if you want to go into a bit more detail with decaling. But because this is a budget, we don't want to go off and buy loads and loads of different decaling solutions, which you can. The one I do think you should really sort of go out and get is Microsol. This is by Microscale Industries Inc. Nice American company. This is sold on all online shops, pretty sort of easy to get hold of, not mega expensive, but really, you know, if you're gonna get a solution, this is the one to get. You can buy more solutions and stuff, but I do think you can get away with just using this one. So for this bit of basic decaling, what we want to do is, first off, you've got to get out your instructions, and you want to sort of it's good to sort of orientate again the instructions with your model so you can see where everything's going. I'm just going to get out a blade, or you could get out some scissors. It's totally up to you. I'm going to use a blade, right? And what we're going to do is, it'll show you on the instructions quite sort of clearly. We're going to do this roundel just here, and it points towards it, number 60. So let's cut out a number 60 just here. I'm using the blade. The blade is sort of more precise for cutting these things out, right? Just when you're cutting, make sure you don't cut through other decals and stuff, because I mean some of them are kind of like see-through and stuff. Right, so we've got our first decal. Some tweezers, again, we can nick these off the misses if you want. Bit of lukewarm water just off camera. I'm just dipping that into, and we're just going to put it down. And what we want to do, we want to let that soak in until it starts to actually move off of the decal film. Right, we don't want to be messing about with this, trying to push it off the decal film and speeding things up or anything. Just let it soak in and do its business. Well then, so this now is just moving on our decal film rather nicely. Remember, we use lukewarm water because if it's cold it can sometimes crack the decal, so make sure it's just nice and lukewarm. Just getting some tweezers here. Well, actually no, first off, no, we don't want to put Microsol on yet. First off, get out dip our paintbrush into water, because this is probably the stage where you'd use micro set, but that's going a bit more advanced and spending more money. But just putting water down just on here, right? And what the water is going to do is make our surface nice for our decal to go down, so that we can move it about. If we just put this decal straight down on a dry piece, it could start sticking very quickly. So by having that water down, right, we should still be able to move our decal around on the piece. So this is where, you know, if we look at our instructions that are in front of us, we can see, you know, where do these decals go. In these little diagrams you can see like recessed panel lines and stuff, so we can use them as guides. I've already done one on the opposite side, so because I've already done one on the opposite side, I'm basically just gonna make it nice and parallel and just copy the opposite side that I've already done here, following what panel lines I can see this side, and just get it to be as close as possible, which can be sort of easy, and sometimes it can be a little bit fiddly. Now I have got out the old little sewing needle. By the way, this I mean, if you don't want to go off and spend more money, you can always go off, get yourself a cocktail stick, and use this in the same way. I'll just sort of sharpen it up just a little bit more with a blade. Right, so it's quite sort of pointy, like a sewing needle. And you can, I mean, not as good, but you can use a cocktail stick again, just to sort of save you a bit of money. So you can maneuver that. And when you do this, I mean, you want to be careful. You don't want to be stabbing down through the decal, scratching all your paintwork and stuff. You know, you're just literally just lightly touching it, just enough so it just moves into the perfect position you want it, which, you know, I've got that just about where I want that. Right, so what I'm going to do now is getting out cotton wool bud, right, again nice and cheap, probably nick it off the missus, and I'm just going to roll, right, just going to show you off the decal here. Place down your cotton wool bud and just roll it across, right, so we're not dragging it like this. If we did this, we're just going to be pushing the decal, ruining the decal. If we just roll across like so, right, we're not moving the decal, we're basically pushing the decal down, right, we're removing any sort of moisture that's in and around, any of that water has been moved off the top, we're even squeezing it from underneath the decal. So you've got your paintwork, you've got your decal, there's a bit of water in between there, and you're just squeezing that out and giving it a better sort of seal. Then straight away come in with your micro sole, right, which by the way, this stuff is so easily knocked over because it's so tall. The amount of times I've knocked these over, so if you can come up with absolutely anything, use a bit of ingenuity. I brought these, do you know those smoky things, the pots of e-liquids and stuff. There was this foam and there was 3 of them in here, absolutely perfect for placing that in there, and it stops you knocking it. Trust me, you will save money by coming up with something just to stop it knocking over. But again, we come straight in straight away and we just paint on top some of this micro sole like so, and then we leave it, right, don't touch it, because what can happen, some decals more so than others, what can happen is that decal, it will start to eat into the decal, it will start softening it up, and it will start to wrinkle and expand and go all soft, and you don't want to be messing with it because you can end up sort of ripping it, smudging it, doing all sorts with it. You just want to let that sort of dry to the point where it starts to look dry, and then apply another coat, apply another coat, keep doing that, repeating it, keep applying it, waiting for it to look dry, then put another coat onto it, and then what should slowly happen is it will slowly conform to the model. So what we've got here, we've got recesses. I mean, it is actually running over a recessed panel line, so what it will do is it will shrink into that recessed panel line, so then it looks as though it's painted on because it's going with all the conformities and all the recesses, recess rivets, all those kind of things, and makes it look like it's painted on. So we just keep doing that until it conforms nicely. So there we go, I have done probably about 2 to 4 coats of our micro sole just here, and I've allowed it to dry, and what you'll see, right, is all those recessed panel lines and rivets and all that kind of stuff, the decal has sunk into there, dried and stuck down, and that's a cool thing about micro sole, is it conforms to the model, and it's got a sort of like an adhesive property to it as well. So this is like really sort of stuck down now. If it was to just use solely water and slide them on, you wouldn't get that, you know, sinking into the recesses, and it's quite possible that you know, if you touch it with your thumb or something like that, it'll rub off or come off on your thumb, won't stick down, and you'll also get like things like silvering as well. Silvering is where around the edges of the decal is a little bit of like see-through clear decal film, and what happens is air gets in and underneath the decal, and the silvering that you can have around all the see-through parts of a decal is just air trapped underneath the decal. Microsol gets in underneath the decal and it just sucks it all down and removes all the air, and that's the cool thing about having Microsol. What you want to do next is a little bit of a cleanup. So, you know, something like a cotton wool bud, right, we want to make it moist, because if we sort of bring you in, what you've potentially got, I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but here on a little bit of a decal I've already put on, I don't think you can see it on camera, but you can almost see that there's like sort of like a leftover residue. You can probably see it a little bit better here. You've got like a bit of a, you know, the glossiness of the model, and then it's sort of like a bit sort of stained, maybe a bit matty around the decal. I mean, if you could just sort of like, you know, clean that up, right, and all we're doing is we're just removing the leftover substance of the micro sole, right, because this can, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. I mean, you know, it's not something you have to do, but it has, I've noticed that you know, there has been times where there's been such a build-up of this stuff, and you go and you like spray or paint over it, and it can affect your gloss coats that you put on after this, your weathering. It can possibly affect things. So it's just good practice just to have a quick sort of clean up and get rid of any of this residue like so. And then as a final thing, when it comes to decaling, what we want to do is put on another gloss coat. So get out your gloss coat, get out your flat brush, and just again, just nice and carefully paint across the model, just like I've already shown you. And the whole idea of that is your decal then is sandwiched between two gloss coats, right? And what this does is, one, it sticks that decal solid down onto your model. It protects it and sort of blends it in with the paintwork as well, so it makes that decal look as if it has been painted on, rather than you can see it's a bit of a decal. It just looks like it's been painted on, which just makes it look so much more professional. And that final gloss coat also gets your model ready for whatever weathering you want to do on top. You know, those gloss coats are now protecting your paintwork, they're protecting your decals, right? We can do pretty much any kind of weathering we want to do, knowing that all our work's been protected and saved. And as always, leave it overnight to dry.